Okay.
Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes to allow people to join. If you'd like, please introduce yourself, your organization, and your country in the chat so we can get to know where everyone is calling in from. And we'll get started in just 2 minutes. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning or afternoon. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes for people to sign on and join us. If you'd like to, in the meantime, please feel free to introduce yourself, your organization, and your country in the chat so we can all learn where people are calling in from today. And we'll get started here in just 1 or 2 minutes. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. As I've mentioned, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat where you are calling in from and your organization so we can get to know where everybody is this morning and afternoon. We'll get started here in just 1 minute to allow for others to join us. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning and afternoon. My name is Melissa Montes. I am a senior program officer for the ASAP2 project, and we're going to get started here on our webinar on writing an abstract. Please continue to let us know where you're from, your organization in the chat. It's excellent to see where everyone is joining us from. At any point throughout today's webinar, if you have questions, please feel free to ask them in the Q&A box. You'll see that at the bottom of your screen. Myself and our presenter will be monitoring that Q&A box to be able to answer your questions throughout the webinar today. A copy of the presentation slides as well as a recording of today's presentation will be available on the ASAP Resources website at www.intrahealth.org/ASAP-resources. And I will share that link in the chat shortly. And by the end of the day, Eastern Standard Time, that will be available to you. Just a little background on the ASAP project. We are currently in the ASAP2 phase. The purpose of the ASAP project is to rapidly prepare local partners to have the capabilities and resources to serve as prime partners for USAID / PEPFAR programming in compliance with USAID and PEPFAR procedures and implementation. We have 2 strategic objectives at ASAP. The first is to strengthen local partners as they transition to receive PEPFAR funding as a USAID prime partner to comply with regulations. And the second is to prepare local partners to directly manage, implement, and monitor PEPFAR programming while maintaining consistent program achievement and quality. ASAP2 has supported 18 total countries. All of them are listed here. And I see many of you are joining from some of our supported countries. So thank you for joining us today. Some key results from ASAP 1 and 2. ASAP has supported 126 local organizations in 18 different countries. 113 have been local partner organizations, and 13 have been local government partners. USAID/ASAP has broadcast over 110 webinars for more than 22,000 attendees in 76 different countries. Many of those can be found still at www.intrahealth.org/ASAP resources as recordings and presentations available for download for you to use as a resource. So please feel free to visit that site and peruse through the various webinars available for you to watch and share with your colleagues. Many of our webinars are also available in 3 different languages, French, Portuguese, and of course, English as you're joining in today. So if your preferred language is French or Portuguese, many of our webinars are recorded in those languages as well for you to use. The presentation slides are also translated and available for downloaded. We have a few upcoming webinars. Later this week, we have a webinar on business development. Next week, we have a webinar on procurement and property management and compliance issues. And the following week, the first week of March, we have a webinar on USAID financial policies, internal controls, and compliance. So if you or a colleague would like to attend any of those webinars, please feel free to register as you did for this one to receive any updates and news on those webinars. Our presenter today is Peter Tebantendo. He is an ASAP 2 capacity advisor. He is an excellent resource to everyone, so please feel free to ask questions throughout the webinar. And Peter, go ahead and take it away. Over to you, Peter. Peter, can you hear me? Perhaps we'll turn off your video.
And as she said, I am a capacity maroon and with a lot of experience in writing.
Sorry, everyone. It appears we're having a little bit of a technical difficulty. Peter, can you hear us?
Yeah, I think I'm fine now. So saying
Excellent.
that,
Thank you.
Can you hear me as well?
Yes.
So we have set seven great reasons why
Peter,
we think we should move an abstract. One of it is to raise visibility of your. This is. Can you hear me?
yes, you come back
Yes.
in.
Thank you. So I was saying that we have one of the seven great reasons why we think we should write an abstract. One would be to raise visibility of your organization's technical work and capabilities. This is very, very, very important because as we do implement activities, also very, very necessary for people to know what we are doing. So in the course of writing an abstract, we will be trying to make people know, see what we are doing and learn from us. Another very good reason why we think you should write an abstract is to advertise at national and at international forums. Some persons go for abstract because they want to position for new project opportunity. And this is very, very many persons that opt for this. This is one of the pushing factor or the factors, the key factor that push them to come up with an abstract. We also have reasons like making better decisions about projects and investment. When you implement a project, it's obvious that you should share the lessons learned so that people should really highlight and see, and why not learn from your experience and take other measures that could help implement such projects in their own countries. Then also we have this global knowledge base. We are in a world where we call it a village. So when we share, we write abstracts, we are also contributing to the knowledge base of the entire planet. So for some reason, some people decide to write abstract because they want themselves to be known as leaders. They hear you are an expert in a particular domain, and there is just no document, no scientific paper that you have published. There's no abstract that you have written. You claim to say that you are an expert, a cornerstone in your own domain, maybe in your country, and you really want to testify this through the technical documents, the technical papers that you write, and all the abstract that you present for accepted in different arenas. So, some other persons, one of the key reasons that we could push some other people to write abstract is to improve on their CV. Here, you want to improve or get promotions, maybe persons of the academic world. The many abstracts you write will lead you to become an assistant from lecturer, senior lecturer, and why not to other high positions in your career. So we have 7 basic reasons that we think we always like to highlight that push people to come out with an abstract. Slide, please. Slide, yeah. So now we want to know, are you really ready to communicate your results? Which are these results? The results for the interventions that you have. Is your project or activity ready to be written up? That is a question that you should ask yourself. And this is based on maybe your data, maybe the information you get from the field, maybe the different reports that you've been receiving from left or right, or even opinion from end users. Do you think it is necessary for you to come up with to write up something? So these are very silent, pertinent questions that will guide you and make you maybe think that you should communicate your results to the other. Once you settle on yes and you are ready to go, then are you able to answer the question? So what? You've implemented. Maybe you have a project on, I don't know, on human rights. You could be operating a project on human rights or key peace, and you want people maybe after that. What is the message that you want people to know after coming out with your findings? You've come out with very good findings, conclusions, but you will need to inform the world. You need to inform your colleagues on so what the findings that you have, what are they meaning, what is the language or what is the message behind these findings. So those are some of the things that we need to communicate through using our results. So once you have the abstract, if your abstract is evidence-based, how are solid are the data? Solid here will also go with the quality of the data and the type of method that you use in gathering or doing the different analysis that will push you to come out with some conclusions. So you need to know if your data is not very of top quality or not solid, then obviously the abstract that you are anticipating to write or the presentation, the abstract that you prepare and submit might not be accepted in the appropriate quarter that you think you'll be submitting. So has the abstract been reviewed by others in the organization? Most often people write their reports and think that they know everything and stay in their own single corner. Well, I know I'm a master. I've been working for the past 20 years. Unfold 20, 30, 50, I've been writing abstract. At times, even the class 5 level, someone with a first school level certificate could go through your report or abstract and tell you, please, there is an error here and could guide you. Thus, that input that you receive from colleagues will contribute in improving the quality of the abstract. So let us learn that habit of always sharing. It could even be the reports that we're writing, progress of the reports that we're preparing for the donors, even the ones who are preparing for our top administration, top management. Please do share them because the horizontal collaborator with whom you are working could provide an input that will make improve the quality of the report or the abstract. Slide, please. So now deep diving on what we call your do your homework. Look at examples. Look at examples of successful abstract. There's just no topic that you think you are the person coming with the very first writing on it the very first time. Others would have written in different ways. So when you go through, you read at examples of abstract of similar abstracts. This will help you fine tune or better phrase maybe either the topic or some section of that abstract. Then try to also understand the target themes or topics of abstracts being solicited. Yeah, this is very critical as we'll see in some of the slides ahead. Where you go off rate, obviously your proposals will be rejected. That you're proposing could maybe will not be retained not because of quality, but because you have not respected the guidelines, maybe the format that has been requested that you should use in presenting this abstract. Then they also ask you to pay careful attention to the submission instructions. Most organizations that request for abstracts have guidelines. These guidelines are standardized because this will help facilitate the assessment from the peer reviewers. If you don't standardize, if the guidelines are not standardized and they allow people to present the abstracts in the format they would like, it makes review process a bit cumbersome and difficult, time consuming. So it will always be very, very necessary for you to respect the instructions and guidelines. Most of the abstracts they request, we have standard templates that are the request that a person should adhere to or use in submitting the abstract. Please, it is very, very, very necessary respect the guidelines, the instructions, and why not use the standard template, the agreed template for that particular series of abstracts that have been requested. If you go off track, if you use a different document, you use a different template, your chances of success for your abstract to be retained are very, very slim. You'll be reducing that chance. Slide, please. So now we'll be diving on to what to convey in your abstract. We want to know what is the message, what was the problem you were trying to solve. You need to make the reader, the peer reviewer, or the organizer, the main organizer of the conference, or whoever has to review, know why, what the main problem was, and what you think, what you want to solve. Because obviously the way you present it, if you don't so if you, the approach that you use in solving it might lead out to conclusions that may be very different than the same topic being approached in a different method. So what did you do? We will be seeing that in the next slide. This what did you do? Let us will be talking about the methodology. Also, we'll be talking about what did you find after the methodology. You have implemented your methodology. Surely you come out with some findings. Those findings, as I earlier said, will depend on your methodology. Maybe if it's evidence based, as earlier said, we will need to check the quality of the data, check the quality, the approach or the methodology that was used. If we were using some inference statistics, please, that should also be checked. And we'll need to see your findings. Once you have the findings and you are quiet on the findings, I'm not sure you are conveying the message the correct way. You need to translate these findings into what the normal man on the street should understand. What does this finding stand for? We'll be seeing that in detail in subsequent slides. Slides, please. So coming now to what was the problem? Yeah, this should cover the first section of your abstract called the introduction or the background. And we will see in a later slide on what we think will be the length of this introduction, this part of the abstract. Then, as I earlier said, the methods here should be very, very concise and should be scientific, something that can be proven. If someone else uses, if it's database, evidence based, if we use the same method with the same data that you have, then we should get the same results. But where we have the same method, the method that you present and the data, we discover that they present different results, then surely there is maybe an issue with your method or the approach of implementing the method that could have caused a wrong finding and why not wrong conclusions. So what did you find? This, as I earlier said, based on your methods, based on your analysis, your interpretation, you let us know your findings, and now we go at the tail end to have the conclusions. We will have some practical examples as we move on. If maybe you're working on HIV prevention in your project, and maybe you want to highlight how the experience you have in your organization on interruption of treatment, and you want to show maybe the relationship between interruption of treatment and viral load. Maybe what is the message that you want to pass on there? Maybe to pass on that those who don't really adhere to ART uptake, they could have this tight relationship with those type of persons and their viral load levels, so or viral load score. So maybe that could be the message that you want to pass. So you need to design a very succinct approach, a succinct methodology. You ensure you implement the methodology very correctly, so such that the findings that you are coming should be those that could be communicated to persons and could lead to changes. Slide, please. So, for the introduction, we always this should be very, very short, and it's the shortest part of an abstract. Here, we are encouraging that we should not have introductions that are more than 3 sentences. You know, and where your introduction is lengthy, it gives room for so many questions, and maybe they make people not understand from the start what you want, the message you want to convey. So the introduction will help answer the following question: what is already known about the subject? You are taking a topic, you want to write on a particular topic. Surely across the globe, somebody should have written on a similar topic in a different context, which the findings there could also help you better better arrange or prepare, design your methodology on how to answer the challenge that you are going through, where you think that you are the only person, the very first person writing. I'm not very, very sure, because we have similar abstracts that could be conveying the same message but in different contexts with different methodologies. So it will also be necessary to highlight what others done and what you think from what they have done, what you want to showcase. So the next is what is not known about the subject. That is what should be a key, should for somebody should understand from your introduction, and hence what the study intends to examine. So when you indicate, give a summary presentation of what is there, what is known about the subject, you now need to highlight what you want to examine in your particular abstract. Slide, please. Remember and take it very serious. The reader is interested in your paper poster because of its findings, not because of the introduction. So this is a key message. Emphasis should not be on the introduction. Emphasis should be on the findings. And when you talk of the findings, means the different processes that will, stages that you need to follow that will lead you to the findings. So the reader will focus on your findings, but not on your introduction. Slide, please. So now we want to know, what did you do here with us on that methodology? This in terms of length, this is the second longest section of the abstract. Here we need to inform the reader of what you have done and how. This, as I earlier said, should be very, very precise and should be very, very scientific. That can be proven. What is the study design and the sample size? What is the setting and the population? You talk of the sample size, you talk of the study design. How did you arrive at the sample size? Those are some of the details that the reader will be searching. We want to see, how did you arrive at the sample size? There are standard ways of doing the selection. Were you doing random? Did you go on convenient sampling techniques and other sophisticated ways? The more sophisticated the methodology is, the more difficult where maybe the reader will find himself in. So you make it simpler, succinct, and smart. So what is the setting and the population? You should be very, very clear. You let us know where you are. We are talking in a setting here. We maybe, are you in a rural environment? Are you talking in hospital setting? Are you talking from the community perspective? And are you talking of maybe key populations? We are talking of pregnant women, or are we focusing on orphans and vulnerable children? This should come in clearly in your methodology, so for easy understanding and appreciation of the good job that you are doing. Then, what method of inquiry was used? Are we using surveys? Yeah, where we administer questionnaires, you need to detail that. Are we using digital methods of data collection? Are we using observations, or where we go and see and document what we see? And are we using focus group discussion? We invite persons, expose them to some questions, in the opinion so that we come up with conclusions. Are we using key informal interviews where you select persons you think are well versed in that particular subject and you expose them to some questions or for to gather their opinion? So you need to be very concise and precise in the method of inquiry that is used. And then what was the outcome measure and how was it defined? You need to be very clear. After this define the setting that you the study design, the sample size that you have defined, you have also indicated the POP, the setting, you've indicated the target population, and how you did the inquiry per se. Now, how do you measure? How can you appreciate whatever outcome that you found in the methodology that was used? So these are very, very clear things that should feature in the section called methodology. Here, I know many persons who come out who prepare abstracts. They have challenges in detailing or presenting this section to the reader. And so, at certain times, by the time you sit up to think of writing an abstract, you may be lacking in this particular domain of designing the methodology. But know that writing an abstract written by a single person, most often we will doubt, because having the competence in all the different domains in writing an abstract is some people do have, but you will not be very, very proficient. You want to talk of the sample, you may have to meet up the persons who are very, very good in coming with sample designs, who are good in coming in doing in selecting the sample for this the setting. Well, that one is very, very obvious. And the method of inquiry also, you need to share with others. It could be a domain that needs a multi-sectoral approach. You don't have expertise in maybe behavioral science. You may need to have some persons maybe in your team who will help you in the questions that are related to maybe so the behavioral science or things like that. You may not be very a big expert in KPIs or methods of how to reach out to KPIs. You need to knock at the doors of those who have that know-how, so that together you come out with a very, very strong team, such that by the time you come out with an abstract, at least people should discover that, oh, we should see that there's much seriousness and there's much information that this abstract has to convey. Slide, please. So the next in-depth that we go, the deep dive will be, what did we find? What did you find? Here we are talking about the results and the findings. This is the longest and the most important part of the abstract. Remember, I said the reader is not interested in your introduction, nor in terms of where the interest is high. It is the findings. So this is where you need to really spend much time after the you have wrote out your methodology. So much time should be spent here to convey the message in terms of findings. So here we need to give the main results, not just in subjective terms. We found approach X to be superior to approach Y. That is very, very, it doesn't sound very much. You must make it to substantiate why you are taking such a decision, or you're advising persons to believe in your finding. Data from which the conclusion will be drawn should be reported in as much as details as the space allows. So you need to give some evidence. You need to use some inferential statistics to demonstrate that what you are saying is founded, is verifiable. Where you end on just too superficial as a finding, no. You need to go deep down and come out with some result from inferential statistics, where you end up only maybe you using a particular method, and what is the approach? I don't know, so it would depend on the methodology that you agreed on, and now you've written it, and now how do we interpret? Are you using the normal law or in statistics, or what particular approach that the methodology that you're using that you have used? Then now you need to interpret now the results. So as we earlier said, this is the key and the greatest part of the longest part of the abstract, and where we all those of us who think of writing abstract, we should focus on. Most often, those who design the methodology, they design the statistical whatever. If it is related to her, yes, you need to link yourself with public health specialists who could quickly interpret the figure, who could quickly interpret the figure relate there with respect to the topic in question. Or you need to meet the clinician who will need to interpret what does this stand. You have come up with that, you've rolled out your methodology. These are your findings. What does it mean if we have a viral load of less than maybe 1,000? What does that stand? You are not a clinical person. Maybe the clinical person that will interpret that and maybe uh, convey the message better than the maybe the demographer, the epidemiologists who maybe run the section on methodology. Slide, please. So what does this mean? As I earlier said, we now need to see on the discussions and the conclusion. This contains the most important take-home messages. Or it contains the most important take-home message. Here we are coming out with conclusions. We are coming out with key messages that maybe decision takers may have to rely on. So, and most of us we advise that we don't go more than 3 sentences in this particular section of our abstract. Authors may be able to express an opinion about the theoretical or practical implications of findings. And here, most often, we want to advise persons not to go above what the evidence that we've had from data. So do not claim more than the data demonstrates. Don't give assertions that cannot be proven from your data. The tendency, the trend could be there, but you don't just conclude if your data is not providing that information that would need help you come up with conclusions. So limit your conclusions to what the data is telling you. Limit your conclusions to what maybe your findings are telling you. Don't go above the findings and come up with conclusions that are not evidence based. This is what we are saying in this section of abstract writing. Slide, please. So we go to title. The title should be obvious, short, and related to other sections in the abstract. When you come up with a title, before you, most often you design a title, at the time you're writing, you need to be maybe reshaping to ensure that the title you are giving, one can already predict the content. One can, and we're expecting that the sections of that abstract are linked to the title. You talk of observance, and we don't see the title. Maybe a title is towards ART observance on ART uptake, and we don't see any the drug peaks or interruptions mentioned there. I don't know. We don't even see psychosocial issues related to psychosocial counseling in your abstract. It calls for concern. What part of observance were you talking? Or what do you want to, what message on observance that do you want to convey? So you need to, your title and the content should be speaking. They should have good correlation. Make it interesting enough to learn them to read the abstract, which is obvious. Where you have a topic that doesn't trigger people, you don't make people feel like this is a must read abstract, then I'm not sure you are passing your message well. Make it once they see the topic, everybody's eager. No, that abstract that we received yesterday from the topic, can I see it? I mean, please let me read through it and see what this presenter or what the writer, the author, has to convey to us, the lead author. It is necessary in some studies that the study design be evident in the title. Yeah, from the way you formulate it. Maybe you may be talking about patients who were on persons on living on HIV or persons on taking tuberculosis treatment, maybe from a particular health facility or within a health district. So we can now let us know that within that health district, there has been some sampling that has taken place there. So the way you formulate your title, we can already imagine the way the methodology that is in, the method that has been used to come up with the findings that are contained in the abstract. Slide, please. This is an example. HIV testing and counseling among students. That makes you know that what is the population here we are talking about students. And when we talk amongst, by implication, when we come where we have a handful of students, we're meaning to do some selection there, and why not interview them? Then data on prevalence of HIV testing and counseling among students. That alone, from the title, it can help you know the methodology. You can already think of the methodology that is behind or that is envisaged or indicated in the abstract. So we talk of data on prevalence on HIV and counseling among students. Then prevalence of HIV testing and counseling and associated factors among secondary school students in could be Botswana, it could be Zambia, it could be Ethiopia, and whatever. You remember we said go and read what others have. You will get information on what other authors have presented. If maybe a topic was prevalence of HIV testing and counseling associated factors among secondary school students, maybe in both, I don't know, in Ghana, then maybe you find out and you see that somebody has written in on a similar topic in Botswana. It's obvious that maybe there the lessons you could read that particular abstract, and there you could gain, it could guide you how to better present the abstract within the context of Ghana, or maybe the context in Cameroon, maybe the context in Nigeria, etc., etc. Slide, please. Yeah, in abstract writing, it will be very, very necessary to on the keywords. This is very, very, very important because the keywords they already convey some the message. Choose your words very wisely. So choose between 3 and 10 words. Then keywords are usually used by conference organizers and indexing database. Here, the keywords are already there, and we should make sure that we make a good choice and avoid maybe choosing words that may not really convey our message. Tip: review keywords from abstract with similar topics. So you review the keywords there, because when you come out with an abstract, there are some words there that are becoming very, very, we call them keywords. You should maybe choose those keywords, because from there we can quickly have an overview of the abstract that you are presenting. Slide, please. Okay. So this slide here presents to us a summary of some of the aspects that we have already discussed. So we review specific guidelines and instructions for the abstract. As I earlier said, you need to take your time to read so as to better understand the guidelines as requested by the organizers. Then read through published abstracts. We have already seen that you are contributing in the in the world, the knowledge, but you are not the very first person. So others could have written on similar topics. So read through published abstracts. Then think about your target audience. To whom are you the abstract that you're writing? To whom the message is addressed to who? Who are those who are normally supposed to be the primary audience of the abstract that you are presenting or you've written? So you need to think about that. And if you already know your audience, maybe you should know the type of language that you're presenting. You should know the style. You should know the formatting and the like. So if you are dealing, maybe who is the audience, it could be, I don't know, the USAID requested a conference and they're asking you to submit abstracts. You already think of the way they present they do some write-ups there. Are they aligning to the left? Are they aligning to the right? Are there some of those little details should be thought of? Then write the title and select the keywords as we saw earlier. Then draft your introduction, methods, results, and conclusions. Please, this should be done succinctly and in very, very simple language, which people can quickly understand. Slide, please. Yeah, we will share the presentation earlier. Next steps, review. You need to do a review, as we earlier said. You need to preview, proofread, and why not edit? No human endeavor is correct from scratch. You need to do, you review, You do some proofreading several times, and why not share with others, as we earlier said, for their inputs. You may need to share your document with those who are very good in a particular language, and for them to do some corrections, which you as a technician, you might not be a communicator, so you are sending in that to those who are very, very good to proofread. Then revise as necessary. While their inputs are received, don't minimize their inputs. Consider their inputs and those you think are pertinent within your subject on the message you want to convey. Please accept the modifications and move on. As I earlier said, have other people read your abstract from content, style, grammar, spelling before you submit. Even this presentation that we are having today, yes, technically you presented the content, then you need to share it with those who are good in communicating to the public, for them to maybe those in good in graphics, so they should present it very well. You might not have that skill. You have a skill, you are good elsewhere, and the other colleague is good in another domain. When both of you put your heads together, then you come up with a final product that is more interesting. Slide, please. Yeah, in abstract writing, it will be very, very useful that we use active voice and simple sentences. For example, we studied 20 HIV positive patients. Compare this sentence with 20 HIV positive sentences were studied. You see, the way you present it, you have a message, you use inactive and active approach. The person who said we studied 20 HIV positive patients, that message was understood faster than the other message. 20 HIV positive patients were studied. Those jargons or whatever, the language part of it, you might not be very excellent there. So maybe persons who are good in language, you present to them for their inputs to phrase, rephrase some of the aspects or the content of your abstract. Then you also check word count. It is very easy for us to do our word count. Some of these proposals that they request from us, they give you the maximum number of words that should be there. So please respect and also take your time to check the word count. Today, if you are using Microsoft Word, it is very easy for us to know the number of words that are in a particular paragraph, sentence, or whatever, or the entire abstract. Spell out abbreviations on first use. If you say HIV, then you must spell it out. Human immunodeficiency, whatever you have to indicate there. Avoid citations, footnotes, and external quotes. So you need to be very careful not to be putting citations and footnotes, nor external quotes. These are not welcome in your abstracts, and they can play in the final decision as to whether your abstract should be retained or not. So they look simple, but they are very, very, very instrumental, or they contribute much in the decision by the committee of peer reviewers whether or not to retain your abstract or yes. So you need to be very, very concise and avoid citation, footnotes, or the external quotes. Slide, please. Review your own abstract. Use no slide, please. The scientific committee of a conference oversees the peer review process. Reviewers use score sheets to assess abstract within predetermined criteria. So they already tell you this is how your abstract will be reviewed to the committee in charge of reviewing different abstracts that have been submitted, to standardize the scores, the approach in attributing scores, in to standardize the approach in maybe how to assess whether or not a particular abstract should be retained. So there are standard ways per conference. So as I earlier indicated, we will also have guidelines on how you should, if you were requested to use a particular template and you did not adhere to that, then obviously it's very clear that the reviewers might not be very, very interested in reading through your abstract, because one of the very first tests is respect of use of the required template or recommended template. If you didn't use that, then you're already counting yourself out. The reviewers are looking for general quality, sound methodology, as we earlier said, relevance or originality, importance or general interest, and whether an abstract should be an oral or a poster. When we are talking about the quality, as I said, sound methodology, we have seen that the quality, it can right from the methodology, the data that you have used, even the way you are presenting the data, and seeing some consistency are indicated the situation where even the topic that you're selecting, the name, the way you the title that you give can help us. We see the consistency between the different sections of the abstract that plays in the quality of the abstract that you have shared. Then the methodology, verifiable methodology or not. Are you like, is it very, very consistent? The way you present the very from the theory itself to practice. You have presented the way you think the abstract has to be. Your inquiry, the different data, how you have to analyze the data. Have you effectively implemented the methodology as described? So they need to look into that. Then the relevance, originality. Are you copying something, what somebody else has done, or you are doing that? Maybe if you are doing it in maybe in a Tanzania in a particular health facility, there, are you the data that you are using? Somebody else had used it, or that very topic somebody else has done it, and you are just maybe transferring, changing the person's name to yours, and you want to make it public. There are several methods that they use to check how original your abstract is. Then importance or the general intent. How useful will their findings be to mankind? Would it change the way of doing things? That one plays a lot. Where we have what is the value added in knowledge in the community, in the world at large. So those are things that we need to consider by the time you're writing. You should have in mind that the reviewers will be focusing on the quality, the sound methodology, relevance, originality, importance, or general interest of the abstract. Any endeavor that is not aimed at improving the quality of life, I'm not sure the reviewers will pay attention to that. Slide, please. Yeah, from what we've seen, some abstracts that we've submitted, we were unable to have them go through, not because the content was too bad, but maybe the methods were unclear and not sound. These are some of the reasons that you may find your abstract not being retained. Topics not relevant to the conference. The conference has maybe given you a guideline. We are focusing on prevention of mother and child transmission of HIV from mother to child, and you come up with a topic that is not related to that. Obviously, that particular abstract is good, but for another conference, not the conference in question. So they will obviously not retain your abstract. Lack of originality, where they discover that no, the abstract we are presenting, maybe they had come across that in another conference or in another country. They use other application softwares to discover that you are plagiarizing. Then obviously you are your abstract will not be retained. Then findings are not presented or too preliminary. You have findings, yes, but you don't present them in a format that somebody will read, understand, and see the value added. The conclusions are not linked to the data. This is it sounds funny, but this is what people come through. We go through and see that you come with conclusions that are not evidence based. As we earlier said, the conclusions that you give should be verifiable, should be evidence based. You come up with conclusions that your data is not presenting. You come to conclusions that if you look at the questionnaires that they have used, there are no data elements there that could have led to that. Maybe it led to then it becomes a problem. You start questioning. Are you imagining and you have an imaginary situation that you have not verified on the field and you come up with conclusions, then that particular abstract will be good for the dustbin. They will not retain it for the conference. Slide, please. So, what as this slide will like guide us on what we think, summarize what we think we should include in our abstract. Complete, cover the major parts of your study. Concise, no unnecessary words. We'll see later in some slides on some of the key, some common mistakes, grammatical errors that we do. Then clear, readable, well organized with little jargon. Good. Cohesive, the sections flow smoothly and are logical. For sure, you should not be having paragraphs that are not linked. There should be some logic in your paragraph. You should not suddenly you leave from a particular component and maybe if it is the 90, 90, 90, instead of moving from the first 90 to the second, you move from the first to the third. It becomes a problem. Or first 95 to the second 90 to the third 95, instead of moving through from the first to the second to the third 95. Where you do that mix up, obviously they will doubt and maybe your abstract will not be retained. Slide, please. Technical writing. Slide, please. Yeah, here, as I earlier said, we'll be seeing some of the common issues that we've encountered in preparing abstracts. We have sentences that are just too long, incorrect punctuations. As we avoid such, we expanding our research group to those who are good in punctuations, who are good in language. You give them to proofread, to edit. So we have incorrect punctuations, inconsistent capitalization or overuse of capital letters. There are ways, the specialists in that domain, knock at their doors, provide, share your work with them, let them maybe proofread this. I know you are thinking that maybe sharing the mail, grab your work and maybe make it public before you or send it to another place. But you should have persons who you trust in. So acronyms not spelled out on the first use, spelling errors, maybe your work should be void of spelling errors because there are many applications that you can use to check for spelling errors. So if you come and we have critical spelling errors, then it shows how less serious you were in preparing the abstract. And in such a situation, maybe the abstract will not be retained. An incorrect sentence structure. People of the language world will tell you a sentence should start with a capital letter and should end with a full stop, for example. Those type of things should be well addressed within your abstract, in the content of your abstract. Slide, please. Yeah, we have some tips that we think would be very helpful when we are presenting our writing of our abstract. Complete sentences end in period, question mark or exclamation mark. Complete sentences end in period, question mark or exclamation mark. So where your sentence hasn't got any of this, then there's a problem. Whether you use single or double spaces after all punctuation marks, make sure it is consistent. If you go for double space, then let it be consistent across. Yeah, right up. Commas are used to separate ideas. You should make sure that if you want to separate, maybe you're talking of sex, male, then the next idea will be female, the comma should come in there to do that separation. Use commas in numbers of 1,000 and greater. Footnotes should be used at the end of a sentence outside of the period with no space. These are things that we should just implement By the time we are going through our internal review or auto review that we are going through for our abstract, we should check for all of this. We should check. Once we check to the best of your knowledge, you think that is good, then you give it to a second person, a colleague of yours. And when giving to a colleague of yours, let the colleague also have these elements in mind that by the time I'm reviewing this document, I'm trying to make sure that the sentences are not long. I should make sure that we respect the punctuations that are needed for any write-up. Slide, please. Use a bulleted list when lists include 3 or more items. Introduce lists with a complete sentence followed with a column, not a semicolon. Or as you use a column, know that as column, we are advising that we use a column, but not a semicolon. And capitalize the first item in each bullet. If you look at, just try to, as we are going through this, just cross-examine yourself. Some of the reports I have written with bullet points, were you capitalizing all the items? The first item in each of the bullet, you'll find that not always, not that we are not doing respecting this common rule throughout our, most of the time that we present maybe write-ups to abstracts, reports, whatever, executive summaries to our hierarchy or even to scientific committees. Slide, please. Yeah, with capitalization, this slide, we're focusing on how careful we should be not to avoid overcapitalization, because here the first word, the following require capitalization. The first word in a title should, we should use capital letters. First word after a colon should be in capital letters. Figure and table references, same thing. Formal names of government agencies and organizations. So we should make sure we avoid circumstances where maybe we need to start the first word with the first letter in capital letters. We implement only that. Where it is the entire word that has to be in capital letters, then we should also respect that order. If we are saying the units, maybe we know that there is supposed to be all in capital letters. We are talking of USAID, it should all be in capital letters. Bearing in mind that we should have defined what USAID as that stands for example, when during first use. Slide, please. Capitalize district or region only when it directly follows the proper name. Use lowercase when it appears alone. Capitalize district or region only when it directly follows the proper name. That's clear. Example. This example is from Uganda. Bale district is in Uganda. We have started, the word there is Bale. We start with the first letter there is M. We do in capital, uppercase. In the district, we also put it in, and then the first word there is G. We should put it in the uppercase. Luanga is a small district in Zambia. This, we've given 2 examples. Capitalize only the official name, title of a group, organization, or location. Example, in Rwanda, we visited Shira Hospital. In Uganda, we went to the referral hospital in Lyra. You see, the way we present it, if in the course of writing, instead of spelling Lyra with starting the first letter in the uppercase, we indicated all of Lyra and spelled Lyra all in uppercase, we might not be doing the job the right way. It's advisable that we respect that name. Rwanda, for example, should start with the first letter should start with R, but not all of Rwanda, all the spellings, all the letters. Capitalize the name of a department. Example, the finance department implemented a new procedure. That's fine. The health department implemented a new procedure, for example, on ART uptake. That could be another. So we should use customize, be used to the way we use capital letters. Don't capitalize names of cards or types of health facilities. There's some good examples here. We're talking of for cards, we're talking of nurses, auxiliary nurse, midwife, pharmacists, medical officers, and so forth. We should not capitalize them. They are not to be capitalized when we are presenting an abstract or even a report. They fall under particular types of maybe personnel or health facility. It's not advisable for us to use capital letters in the first letter of those words. All should be in lower cases. Slide, please. Here we want to see some of the terminology that we at times we use and we think that we are correct. And we want to see other ways that we think we can better present the concept that we want to pass or the whatever thing that we want to convey. Higher, the song we call higher risk group, vulnerable population, vulnerable group, higher risk group. Yeah, those are things we hear around when we maybe for HIV, malaria, TB, and even some reproductive health and other related topics. So, or intervention, we can, those are things that we hear around. We are thinking that if we say key population, the message is short. We use two words and the message is very, very succinct and clearer here, rather than say higher risk group, vulnerable group, and that you say key pops or key populations. Then, if you look at the jargon in particularly MSM, oh sorry, in key populations, we always, most of the time, we say hotspots. Yeah, hotspots, at times we contextually understand the message. But we're thinking that if we use location or local epidemic, that would be very, very probably heard better. So or we say hotspots in some of our reports. Yes, but the appropriate way we think preferred language could be location of the local epidemic. Positive HIV victim, HIV positive female, HIV positive male. It's clear. People living with HIV. That one, the message goes straight. And we say people for baby adults, and when it's below 15, we call them children. That is clear. We don't need to be classifying. We're talking that victims or female and the like. It's very, at certain times, yeah, the message is understood, but the person, the project participant or the person concerned might not be very, very happy with the way you are addressing him or her. You call somebody a prostitute, yeah, sex worker is preferable. Target population, here again, we're thinking that the keep ups in the jargon of HIV will be fine. In some other instances, target population will go through. Then we talk of driver or acquired HIV. So use actual term poverty, things like that, things that will cause us the immediate causes, maybe that could cause us expose an individual, maybe that. Then drug users. Today we say we think it's better to say drugs and maybe target MSM. Okay, okay. So we have engage MSM. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, sorry. So now we have, as I earlier said, we should avoid using passive voice. We concluded instead of it can be concluded that short sentences, average 20 words, never longer than 20 words. So we should learn the habit of using very, very short sentences that are not with average 20 words. Avoid double negative. Malaria is not uncommon. Cut out necessary adjectives, advance and maybe advance notice. No, it's simple notice. Why should you want to qualify the notice? A notice is a notice. That's fine if you want to say advance. other one that will come before. I don't know. Notice number one, notice number two, or something like that. Yeah. Next slide, please. Keep a consistent order. Ideas must be well organized. Each paragraph captures just one topic. Each sentence has just one idea. An explicit relationship must exist between sentences. As we earlier said, explicit relationship must exist between paragraphs and between sections. So you have consistency within the sentences, within paragraphs, and in the entire document. Those are things that will be checked. Paragraph, please. Style and language. Here, as I earlier said, we make reference to persons who are good in language editing. Complex language not needed. Write numbers from 0 to 1 in words, and do not use contraction in professional writing. Don't, could not, should not. They are not very good when you are doing a professional write-up. These are simple, these are tips that at times we minimize, but they contribute in the final decision that is taken by the review panel. Maintain similar language throughout. Slide, please. Style and language still. We are now talking either or. Those are, we focus on this either best together, not one without the other. Some of these tips, please, as I earlier said, but we should respect them. We should respect them. I'll go to the third point for men. The proportion of hospital admission rose from 1.8% in 1998 to 8.1% a decade after for women. Those figures were 7.5 and 16.3 respectively. At least there should be some relationship, some consistency between the words and within a sentence and within a paragraph. Yeah. Slide, please. Yeah, here we're dealing here with some of the common mistakes that we should avoid. It goes now with punctuations, and we say punctuation they go inside quotes. When we already see, then we know you are like quoting something. I love walking here. The punctuation should go there. He said, "Walking here is the best." At least we should. You are quoting. So that one makes that the sentence you're writing, you are representing somebody. You're transferring what somebody said and putting it for us to be in the thinking that the person you're writing is there in that particular document. So we should be very specific to know how to use our punctuations. Also, the Latin abbreviation, I here we use this time and again, and we think that they're easygoing, but we should respect when by the time we use these Latin abbreviations, we should know that they come out with a particular format that we need to write them. And IE should end with a full stop means that that is the abbreviation. EG means, for example, in our scientific papers, we to avoid using some of these punctuations. Both IE and AG should be followed by a comma. That is clear. In fact, these details common, but they are very, very necessary in the write-ups in the abstract that we are submitting. Slide, please. Yeah, here we will be looking at some words that we think are redundant. And you see, we write that we see that in some paragraphs, but we think that there's a better way that we could present some of this. We're using how many words? Are 1, 2, 3, 4, of which if you say now, and you were given some limited time, limited number of words. If you start reducing this by using appropriate words, obviously you will match with the number of words that are needed. So we should avoid using, for example, sentences to this for in situations where a single word can represent. Absolutely essential. Yeah, you want to emphasize, but essential goes any particular You put any large in size. Can it be large in another way? No, it's always in size. So those are some of the tips, very, very important tips that we should take into consideration. We have, for example, past history. History is already talking about the past. Why do you indicate? Why should you put the past history? So we should write directly history. We'll be able to. There is a common word can do that. So next slide, please. A very limited number of few altogether together. There are a handful of when we share the slides, you will go. We went slide, please, Melissa. We've already seen the slides. There are many resources that provide technical and editorial help to new authors, especially from low middle income countries. These resources here are maybe websites, maybe some group of scholars, persons renowned, known worldwide, who have written so many abstracts, who accept to maybe guide younger persons or persons who are coming into this world of abstract writing for their very first time. So we have we have resources that we are proposing that we can contact and maybe have additional support by the time we think of coming up with an abstract. Slide, please. So this is, for example, one of the sites that we can contact. The Equator Network is a new initiative that seeks to improve quality of scientific publications by promoting transparent and accurate reporting of her research. You have the link down www.equator network.org. So if you click here, they will give you some additional information that will help you prepare you for the abstract that you have in mind. And why not contribute in improving the quality of the abstract that you intend to submit. Next slide, please. This is another resource center that is very, very helpful for abstract authors to potential authors to abstracts. You could contact this. Junior scientists get a mentor. This is often a retired academic who guides them through the writing. You see, so the steps we have indicated here are persons who are already they're retired but not tired, so they focus themselves now as part of their responsibility to ascertain that the younger generation they transfer their know-how to the younger generation in abstract writing. So you come up with a proposal, you submit to them, and they will guide you how to present the document to an acceptable copy. Slide, please. In summary, state the issue to be discussed, give a brief background to the issue, describe briefly what you are doing or have done about it, and why it is important. Practice, practice, practice. You don't get up and become an expert in abstract writing without trying. So go for the very first abstract today. And after the very first abstract, you will speak the language, the way you speak the language of abstract writing will improve. As we generally say, practice makes perfect. It is not reading through this document that you think you have the skills in writing. Translate this into a practical, to an abstract and submit it in a conference or whatever in an organization. We all are involved in producing data. We all are involved in implementing activities, and we should use this opportunity, the lessons learned here, to come out with scientific papers that will showcase at the F the good work that we are doing. Next slide. We already saw this. So Melissa already presented this in terms of the webinars that we have and also what we have already presented. So This particular presentation, you have access to it, as she earlier indicated, maybe maximum be 24 hours from now. And that will guide you in whether you can use it the way you want. Next slide, please. But remember to always quote the main source. Now, please, let's see whether there are questions and let's see whether we can address them. So we'll go into the question and answer session. We indicated that colleagues should express, or if they have questions, they should use the Q&A box and present. So when I go through it, I have, what is your preferred institution? This is an anonymous question. What is your preferred institution to contribute to continue the learning curve into abstract writing? What is your preferred institution? Yeah, I would really not take to say have a preferred institution where you could go to get to improve on your skills in abstract writing. None of the institution is useless, and I think if you follow the guidelines there and you keep on writing the abstracts, you will gain the skills, and tomorrow you become maybe one of the persons to guide other juniors writing abstracts. Yeah, there is this other one. Perhaps during your presentation, you may have touched upon this topic. What strategies or tips can you recommend? Wow. There's this one. Which among these regression analysis methodologies should be preferred looking a multiple dependent variable? Yeah, this is a topic we did, the ASAP there is one of our webinars focused on advanced data analysis, and we came out with some key points to advices or suggestions to persons who want to use them. For any of the methods that you have in mind, you need to justify why. We don't get up and think that this particular regression analysis is better than X, the other one is better than Y. For each of the methodology, there are guiding principles. They give you the circumstances which you should use. It depends on the type of data that you have in mind, and even depend on to whom the audience that you want to present. Imagine a situation where you come out with sophisticated, even the resources that you have at hand. If you are not a you don't have sophisticated computer packages and you don't have the know-how in doing that, why do you go for sophisticated? Logistic regressions at times can go. I know you even univariable, multiple variables, and the like. So you need to sit and put the different methodology in your front and justify why I think I should use this to the other method, method. You have to make a choice. Why do you think? It will depend on your data, the data that you have at your disposal, the know-how, the resources that is also at your disposal, and your own personal know-how. So we to get up and say, please use this particular regression analysis. I'm not sure it's very, very appropriate. It depends on the context where you are found. Okay. Perhaps during your presentation, you may have touched upon this topic. What strategies or tips can you recommend for structuring an abstract to ensure clarity and coherence while highlighting significance of the study? Your question, like this concern from, thank you very much, colleague. If you go through the different steps, the different slides that we have presented, they all contribute in answering to this concern that you have raised here. So what I would suggest is you go through this document, you go through this slide and try to follow the different steps. This will help you have a very good abstract. And why not go to the different the resources that I've proposed here. So this, it will help you choose. It will help you. They will help you. They will guide you on how to present your abstract. So there is. I'm not sure there is a clear and universal approach. We have. It's a social science. So it depends on the context and where you are. Wow, this should a paragraph or a table be included. Ah, Hello, please. Could you share with us examples of correct abstracts? As a person, yeah, we have abstracts. If you go online, you will see abstracts. All abstracts that have been approved by review boards and made published, you will get them online. So I will not even have the quantity that you will get online. So just go online depending on your topic. Some may require you to go to some conditions before you have access to it. So just be patient and you have that. Respect maybe the conditions that have been requested, and you have access to the abstract. There is no, as we generally say, there's no free lunch. So at certain times, you may have to tip in something for such specialized organizations to function. Can we only base on collecting data in tools as registers to write an abstract? Well, why not? It's a data source, even one of the primary source for data collection. So it would depend on your ability to transcribe the information from those primary, maybe to other secondary tools, which maybe are you developing a digital application to enter the data and do analysis? Yes, most of our the health information system use paper-based tools, and primarily they use registers. So that is a very key source that we can use to develop, because you will be having, most of them are they have the individuals or the patients or the clients, and they are by per row. So each row will be representing a client. So you can still do the sampling within that particular register and come out with if you first choose before you even collect the information. If it is paper based, rather than taking the entire register, you enter all the information in a digital sub application. You can already design your own sampling methodology there, and decide that for every 20, from every 20 or every 10, that is the person that you are selecting retained for the for this for the study. Yeah, there is this concern from a colleague. Thank you. Does the term people who inject drugs cover even those who use drugs that are not injectable? I may not be very able to give you the exact answer, but I think the way they will form the name of the people who inject drugs, I think the focus here is mostly on those who use injections. So yes, one key elements of confidence should be included in an abstract to effectively summarize the main points of a research study or process. I think you should indicate one of the things, as we earlier said, you must come up with why what you've done. You have to also indicate the methodology in a concise way, the findings, and why not the conclusions. You will not just end up with a conclusion without letting us know how you arrive at, and you will not tell us how the method without telling you what was your problem statement. So these conclusions, when you are coming with a summary, this summary should highlight these aspects. Yes, we can. Should abstracts be only from completed studies, or can we do it from implementation data? Why not? You delimit your information. The scope, maybe you are referring it to January to June for a particular year, the data that you have collected while the project is ongoing. It could be a 5-year project, and you are basing your argument on the first 6 months, or maybe the first 1 year, and you've seen that your findings will help orientate the project. So you must not wait till the end. As you start, after maybe 6 months, 3 months, and you think that you could already showcase what you are doing, why not? So you don't wait to the end. Should a graph or a table be included in an abstract? Yes, you should have a table that will giving you some statistics, summary statistics. That one is the minimum. So we should have that. I'm very sure that will be very advisable. If you want to show the trend, it depends on the topic of your of your abstract. If it's that which is showing is over time, then why not? You may have to show the graph. You may want to show the situation over time, so the graph will be needed. Uh, what does what does the A stand for in IMRAAD? So let me, I may not retain it, or let's go back. Melissa, can you take me back to these abbreviations in the document? Uh, yeah, it's yes, the slide just before. Come back again, again. Yes, draft your introduction, methods, results, and discussions. Introduction for I, methods for M, results. Then the A, since it's not a capital, this thing is standing for and. So I think I've responded to your concern. Okay, the next Q&A, we go ahead.
There's a question here that says, what is the difference between a lessons learned abstract and a case report abstract?
Yeah, well, you maybe, yeah, I've read through it. What is the difference between lesson learned abstract and a case report abstract? The good thing is that both are abstracts. And it depends now, you are talking lessons learned. You want, what do you want to showcase? You want to indicate to the people that this is what you have learned from a particular implementation, a particular you learned from the analysis you have done, maybe from a particular study, where you have done from maybe the implementation of a particular project over time. So you want to share that. So then you come now, case report abstract. You case report, you are specific in the sense that in this particular, well, let's take, I don't know, I will take an example of maybe you have a particular topic in mind. You want to showcase a situation of HIV endurance in a particular health district. You are dealing with a particular health district and you want to show that. But now you are telling the world that this is how the persons here they behave in their ART uptake. Then when you want to talk of a lesson learned, the different strategies that you have put in place, were they helpful? And then you want to share so that others could help now introduce, or why not implement some of those lessons to see how to improve the day-to-day rollout of similar projects. So they are interwoven. There's no clear-cut difference between the two. You could use lessons learned to justify some particular findings, to justify why we have a particular finding in terms of the strategies that were rolled out and for a particular case. So you will not come out and say the two are totally different. No, there are connections or intersections between the two types of abstract. Okay, Melissa, do we have any other question? I don't know.
Yes, there's a question here that says, what is the difference between proposal writing and abstract writing? Those are two different skills, so maybe you can elaborate.
Yes, I will happily elaborate there. If we have, for example, we are all, maybe most of us are involved in writing, submitting, requesting for funding from the goal, from maybe the Global Fund, from the USAID and the like. So there you have been asked maybe to submit a request for funding, and we may call that a proposal. We may call that a proposal because you want to request for funding. That could the appropriate word there would be a proposal rather than an abstract, because I know there are scientific strategies, there are issues there that you could be extracting from abstract to include in a proposal. So you are giving a proposal on a thesis, for example. You have an end of course dissertation that you want to write. You want to present that to maybe a supervisor. We will call that a proposal, but not because it is still not an abstract. So the difference that where you can After the proposal, you come up with your dissertation, you take a particular component there and come up with and write an abstract, because the abstract will have a particular approach of writing, and you may have to do much summary, you may have to summarize many things there. So I have given you two examples: the one of writing a proposal for subvention, for financing, the request for funding. We will not call that an abstract, we'll call that a project proposal. That one is clear. Then when you're writing for a conference, you're presenting a scientific paper. The proposal must not be scientific, but not scientific in terms of publication. It's scientific in terms of resource mobilization. And the other one, if it could be scientific in terms of obtaining a particular certificate, which for I would call in a dissertation, a thesis, and the like. The thesis itself is not an abstract, but except from that thesis, we can use it now to develop an abstract. Thank you.
Okay, it says here, there's a question about citations. Why would citations be viewed as unhelpful in an abstract when they aid in the understanding of the case or the abstract or the study is making?
Why would citation? Oh, why would citations be viewed as unhelpful in an abstract when when they aid in understanding the case in the abstract? Or well, I think these are scientific approaches on how to present a particular type of document. So each type of document has its own approach of how to present it. So if we are not dealing in an abstract, and they propose that you should avoid citations, please, you should respect or adhere to that particular norm. If you want to dig to know why are they not, then you may be, instead of adhering, you want to know why they are not. Then you may want to use that as a topic of of the abstract that you want to write, to see why they don't. Because each type of document has its own approach. It's a method. It falls under methodology. So an approach of presenting types of paper. You may want to tell me now, if you want to write that very topic in a newspaper, how would you do it? There are approaches of how to present the same information in a newspaper. There are approaches of how to present the same information over the radio. But now we are telling you, if it is for an abstract, please avoid this. Meanwhile, for the other type of documents, you can move on with your citations. Wow. Thank you.
Um, it says here, what is the difference between an abstract and a manuscript? Lots of differences between abstracts and other kinds of writings. Can you maybe describe that difference, please?
Yeah, I indicated the one of abstract and a proposal, and then now we're talking about abstract and a manuscript. You are requesting to know the difference between the abstract and well, we already know what an abstract is. Now we need to go into details to see what a manuscript is represented. So we'll first question ourselves: what is this? What is a manuscript all about? So manuscript is still a write-up. That is true, but the approach, the way to present a manuscript is slightly different from the way to present an abstract. The canons of writing a manuscript is very different from the canons of writing an abstract. The methodology itself, the language that you have to use, and the different punctuations, all of them will come up with the same maybe methodology. You have to specify the topic, you have to then, but we will be talking of, hardly will we call the manuscript a scientific publication. If we want to put it from that, they will not be asking, hardly would that happen. That can, but it's very rare. So we will go for abstract rather than a manuscript. And imagine that you make a particular document, which is like a publication. You could write some theories, which maybe combination of different findings that you have made, and you come out with a booklet. Wow, would you be calling that an abstract? I think it would be better for us to be presenting them like a combination of, we tilt towards using the word manuscript in that context. Okay, can you do two topics that have similar finding in one abstract? Wow, two topics. No, an abstract is having one topic. So you may have the same data set, then you have two different abstracts. Yes, but the abstracts should have two different topics. And they should be, yeah, as they have two different topics. Let's say you have that you have, as one colleague has, the register that are being used in the health facility. You have issues on the enrollment of PMTCT uptake and things like that. You may have that very register and you do an abstract on EID, early infant diagnosis. You may have that very register and you use and the ART uptake for pregnant women that are HIV positive. You see that it's the same data set, but now you are coming out with two different topics. These topics could be related. If you are talking EID, they will expect you now at least to mention issues concerning prevention of mother to child transmissions through ART uptake. So you see now that as we say, you are not the first to write on that topic. There are similar topics. You pick a topic on prevention to mother to child transmission through ART uptake, for example, and you see the findings there before you maybe want to move on again to add it to EID. So you have the same data set, you can produce as many abstracts as possible. But in an abstract, you will have two topics in an abstract. Abstract is topic specific. Thank you.
We have a question here about different methods of writing an abstract. Can you use a data review, for example, or is there only one specific way to write an abstract?
Yeah, in data review, we are now working on secondary data. So you could use, because as making to facilitate your understanding, you must not use primary data. The primary data is what we collect from directly from the project participant or the beneficiary directly. Now, but maybe we've already collected the data and we have it in other formats and we want to do some different reviews across countries. You may now come out or across regions or across health districts. That becomes, you may want to do some comparative and abstract that is based on, you want to compare maybe incidents, you want to compare. So you need to do some data review, because if you don't have all the data, primary source data, you cannot collect all the data yourself. What others have done, you use it now maybe to come out with a particular abstract based on data review. So you must not only use primary source data or yes to do abstracts. Every secondary data can be used to come out with abstract. All this you need to define that in your methodology. You must clearly define it in your methodology, your data sources, and how you have to do these comparative studies. For example, if you want to compare or you want to do trend analysis, you have to do data review. You may use data review approaches, things like that. Okay. Any other question, please? You
Sorry, I
may
was
have thought, yeah, you may have touched on this, but do you have a group that mentors and supports young abstract writers, providing support, including for reviews? Yes, we have proposed two different groups of experts who can guide all of yours, including me, in abstract writing. So we just need to consult, click on the website, and maybe follow the instructions in that website and the guides that are there. Just like any other forum that you attack, when you go in, you need to respect the guiding the guides there and maybe adhere to it, and you quickly be supported.
I think the last question here is about labeling abstracts. It says some people have a tendency of labeling abstracts which were not developed from formal research as studies. Is this allowed? Can you talk about how you should label your abstract so it's not misleading?
Labeling and which are not based on primary data, it still comes because what some people have the tendency of labeling abstracts which are not development from formal research reports as studies. Is this allowed? Well, this is a very tricky question, because if you want to talk of Generally, if I want to take the case, I will give an example. If you want to take the case of a survey that you've conducted around on a particular topic, you get the data and maybe you do your abstracts, and now the abstract will be focusing on a particular topic. Yes, but you have conducted a study, and from that study you have extracted you some data to produce an abstract. Then so the study generally will have a broader scope. You have a broader information that which is I will call it maybe a database from where you can have as many abstracts as you wish, as you can think. So that particular study will have facets of chapters there that we can call them already as some publications. You do maybe the eight indicator study, eight indicator survey in their country. You will be touching many components of HIV prevention. But when you want to come out with an abstract, I'm not sure you will take all those dimensions to come out with an abstract. You may now focus on the first 95, but you're studying focus on all the 395s. So you see, there's that type of a difference. You need to situate yourself. Generally, the study will be is a broad type of research where you gather information on different domains that are tightly related. But the abstract now, you may want to take just an element of it, a component of it, and highlight it. Your focus will be on your subject matter, and in the course of presenting your topic or elaborating on the topic, you may have some elements of different components that you put in. I hope I was able to help there. So the research and the abstract in wanting to do a primary data collection for a particular abstract may lead you to conduct a study, but you will not use resources and focus only on the abstract, because for you to come out again to have that available resources might be very difficult. So you try to expand it, add other data elements which tomorrow you will use for further abstracts. Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Peter. If nobody has any additional questions, we'd like to thank you for joining us today for today's webinar on writing an abstract. We hope that it was helpful to you and resourceful to you as you continue on your journey in abstract writing. As we mentioned earlier, today's presentation, as well as a recording of today's webinar, will be available on the ASAP resources page. The link to that is in the chat. That again is www.intrahealth.org/ASAP resources. And that will be available by the end of the day today, Eastern Standard Time. So tomorrow morning, for those of you further east from here. And we'd like to thank USAID for their continued funding and support of this webinar series. And again, would like to thank Peter for presenting today and all of you for joining. We hope you have an excellent rest of your day, afternoon, and evening for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you to everybody. And goodbye.